Chiaki here. Today we're going to talk about some psychological things. Alright, so in this video I'm going to really get into psychology with it a lot. Especially given how people don't seem to really talk about that with some yandere. Some yandere they do talk about it. Like, for example, if you're talking about Yuno Gasai from Future Diaries, she's a victim of abuse. And so I wanted to, from a psychological perspective, talk about certain disorders and my yanderes and whatnot. And I'm going to try my best not to really feel like I'm betraying myself, because I didn't want to really state any of the characters' disorders. I kind of wanted people to be able to not really figure them out, but understand that they had some, whether or not they knew what they were. And especially if people know these disorders or have the disorders, they feel like this person is like me. Because very often we don't go around claiming, oh yeah, I have depression, oh yeah, I have ADHD, oh yeah, I'm fucking got schizophrenia, you know? I mean, in some cases, yeah. And so in the later games, or at least in 2.0, the Bloody Bows, there is a schizophrenic and a character with schizophrenia and a character with dissociative identity or multiple personality. So they do talk about it, because when it comes to something that, you know, it's kind of going to be hard to hide when you're close to people, it's not exactly something you can hide. And it's something you're going to have to warn them about and be like, just so you know, if I start talking, people aren't there, it's because I'm schizophrenic, or just so you know, if suddenly I'm acting like someone else entirely, I have several personalities. And when I do get around to 2.0, I will talk a lot about schizophrenia and dissociative identity, because those beasts are highly misunderstood. So are most disorders in general. But in this video, since we're covering the Royal Rebels, I want to talk about their disorders and kind of how it responds to their yandere behaviors. Now, there's actually a lot of serial killers, especially like psychopaths, who are narcissists. Also, I will probably give you a definition of sociopathy and psychopathy, the differences between them and whatnot, and all that jazz. Because technically, I consider Yoko to have antisocial personality disorder, which is sociopathy. And something people misunderstood about sociopathy and psychopathy is we often mix the two up. Sociopathy and psychopathy both have, where they are the same, or where they have similar attributes, they're practically the same. But where they have different attributes, they're like opposites. And psychopaths pretty much almost have, like, no emotions. And yeah, you're going to think automatically of Sakiko, but Sakiko's not a psychopath in many other ways. And I'm not saying they completely lack emotion, but they have to mimic the emotion. And they usually are the more cunning, intelligent ones. While sociopaths, they do have emotions, but they don't have a good way of expressing them, nor do they have a wide range or whatnot. In fact, most of their emotions are more on the negative or not upbeat, but more negative, aggressive side. So they can take things personally quite often. And get angry about that. While psychopaths, like I said, they try to mimic how they realize they're supposed to act, kind of thing. And that's a good clue as to how Sakiko is not a sociopath, or psychopath, sorry. Because she isn't really a chameleon, and yeah, she's not dumb, but she's not like super intelligent, or at least tries to be, or stuff like that. Sakiko, in fact, has a personality disorder as well, but it is schizoid personality, which, depending on how you play, if you get her more yandere ending, it develops into schizotypal. Now, I know we've got schits in there, so immediately you're thinking, schizophrenia! No. They are not the same breed at all. They are personality disorders, while schizophrenia is not. But to be fair, with schizotypal, it does delve into kind of having a personality that might seem a bit extreme, eccentric, maybe even having sense of grandiose. Sorry, I'm always bad at pronouncing that word. And having maybe even a bit of delusional beliefs. But to be fair, delusional attitude is not strictly a schizophrenic symptom. Even people with bipolar can have delusions. So, personality disorders and mood disorders can have delusions as much as psychosis can. Now, as I was saying, schizoid, which Sakiko has, is very similar on the sociopathy spectrum, I guess you could say, in the sense that it has a lack of emotion, lack of emotions, but it is not at all the same thing, and it's kind of why Sakiko wasn't really aware that she was being inappropriate by stalking Suki, and then when she realized what she was doing and that it was stressing Suki out, she was like, oh, okay, I'm doing a wrong here, I need to stop, because this isn't how people do things, because obviously I'm doing something wrong. Now with Kazashi, okay, well, I talked about Yoko a little bit, so we'll go back into Yoko. Yoko is not just antisocial, that's not even her main thing. She is bipolar. She has manic depression, and I feel like it's very obvious, especially the way she talks about it. And she doesn't know. Most of these characters actually aren't aware of their diagnosis. And that's part of the reasons why it's never talked about, because they don't know they have something. Like, when is Yoko gonna go get herself checked out by a psychiatrist? Like, no. And Sakiko's probably the only one in this group that knows she has a disorder, but that's just Sakiko, because she was, adopted and all that jazz. But, so she went through, like, psychological, like, stuff and whatnot. And the band doesn't often talk about disorders anyway, so most of the people definitely are not gonna know. Now, Yoko is bipolar, and that's very evident when she's like, my highs and my lows, and I fucking crashed, and all that jazz. And hers get to extremes, where Yoko is actually quite suicidal. She has suicidal thoughts. She's not super suicidal herself, unless something extreme were to happen, but she does contemplate a lot. Now, Kazashi and Katsumi, they have, like, opposite spectrum personality disorders. So Yoko's, like, the only one that's not, like, mainly a personality disorder. Katsumi, in case this wasn't, like, blatantly obvious, she has something called narcissistic personality disorder. And as I mentioned before in the poly video, it was, she also kind of has a paraphilia, which is technically a sexual disorder. So that counts. Kazashi, besides having extreme depression and a form of PTSD because of that, she's got dependent personality disorder, so she needs someone or she'll fucking lose her mind, as you can see in this image. And that's actually kind of one of the things that make her relationship with Katsumi kind of healthy, because Katsumi needs someone to give her the attention and she needs someone to give attention to. And that's something, I don't feel like Katsumi and Kazashi actually have an unhealthy relationship. I think their relationship actually is quite a healthy one, given the conditions that they grew up in and all that jazz. So, yeah, I didn't really get into the whole psycho murder stalker aspect too much and stuff like that, but to be fair, just because people have these personality disorders doesn't mean they're gonna be a stalker or killer or murderer or anything like that. Hell, I have some of these disorders, my family does. And, well, we haven't murdered anyone just yet. Well, thank you for listening, and if you have any other questions, let me know. Love y'all.